about, again, continue our conversation about remote resources for our English language learners. And today we're talking more about how we can continue that strong family engagement with our ELLs, particularly by using virtual field trips. Okay, here's our website. If you haven't had a chance to bookmark our website yet, please do so. This is where you can find links to all of the offerings that we have in our My Learning Plan catalog, and where we will post resources that we've been using for all of our presentations. Also, if you're not following us on Twitter yet, we invite you to do so as well, so that we can share all of the great work that you're doing, and also share different offerings and materials that we come across as well. We continue to be available through email. That's our best way to reach us right now. So if you have any questions, you can reach out to any of us, either at the Oakdale office or our satellite office in Wheatley Heights. Additionally, our YouTube channel, please subscribe if you haven't had the chance to do so already. We do post all of the recordings from the Tune In Tuesday and Follow Up Friday and everything else in between. And we also create shorter snapshots of our presentations that you can view at your convenience. So if you haven't subscribed yet, you can do that, and that's where all of our resources will be posted. Okay. For this afternoon, I'm going to ask you, if you haven't already, to sign in using the chat. So put your first and last name, the name that you use to register in My Learning Plan. That's one of the ways that we're able to confirm your attendance. In a moment, at one of our E&L special education teachers at Eastern Suffolk BOCES, Barbara Bonagor, she's going to share with us her experience using virtual field trips and other family engagement resources. And then, of course, at the end, we can answer any questions that you have. Although if you do have questions during the presentation, please utilize the chat. So here, when we're rethinking family engagement during school closures, right, we had to cancel our events that we had. We're not necessarily inviting parents into our classrooms, but, you know, we've had some other unintended good experiences come out of this, of the school closures. So here are some assumptions, and just think about if you have made one of these common assumptions in the past month or so. So assumption number one, caregivers are home with their children and can help direct distant learning activities. They're available to answer questions, help with assignments, and navigate technology issues. And I think that's what some of us may have assumed in the last few months, but we realize that that's actually a challenge for all of our students. Assumption number two, caregivers understand your expectation and know how to motivate students to complete assignments. And assumption number three, families expect teachers to assign a full day's worth of work, right? So a lot of these assumptions here that we have listed have led to more challenges, but we realize that our families, though, are there for their children, and they're looking for different ways to work together. And so we're going to be talking about virtual field trips, which is not only something that you can do with your entire class or a group of students, but also invite families to take part of. Okay, so it's okay to take a moment. It's okay to reach out to your families and ask them, how are you and what do you need from me? And if you haven't already, you know, establish relationships with your families, it's not too late, even though the actual school year will be ending soon. But making sure you're emailing your parents, calling parents. In the past, before schools closed due to this executive order, you know, there was something more private about teachers, and we separated our home life from our life with our students. But it's actually something that has evolved. And now when we're working with students, you might actually be talking to the parents in the background and talking about what they're making for dinner, or you know, what they did today as a family, or how you can help them. Maybe there's resources that they need. So let's just not forget to ask our families, you know, our students and our families, how are you and what do you need from me? Maybe there's something that I can help with. So virtual field trips and visits, here are some of the benefits for English language learners: the visuals, And we have a lot of examples, different examples of different websites, different organizations, different museums that offer virtual websites and have all of these great visuals. The auditory sensory information to provide comprehensible input. So for example, the photographs, illustrations, video and audio recordings. There's interactive activities. Some trips and some experiences help you work in pairs or allow you to work in pairs or small groups for students to have that student interaction, which a lot of them are missing right now because students are not necessarily meeting with their peers in person. Many sites are available in Spanish and other languages to reinforce the native language. Also, benefit for ELLs is the multiple viewings and the playback for reinforcement. So some of the virtual field trips are recorded sessions, and so students, just as they can with the video, they can watch it multiple times and pause and zoom in and use the different features to help meet the needs of the individual student. And then also the repeated opportunities to view, hear, and interact with the content and activities. So in a moment, Barbara will unmute and start talking about her experience. And I like this quote here: field trips, including those that are virtual, enable teachers to create as many authentic, experiential experiences as possible. These spatial memories are embedded in the brain and need no rehearsal. And so with that, I will invite Barbara. Barbara, are you here with us?
Thank you. Yes.
Barbara.
My aunt, yes. Hello, everyone.
So Barbara, tell us a little bit about what got you into virtual field trips, or how you started conducting these virtual field trips.
Well, basically with my students, when I was with the younger grades, when I was teaching them as a reward, we would go on cyber trips. We would go shopping, and we would go to Barnes and Noble, and we would pick out a book that they wanted. And then from there, we would go on the public library and order the books. And from there, I used to make little packets for the parents and for the child with the book that they wanted to read, with a little graphic organizer. And my librarians all got to know me. Whatever I was teaching, they knew, because they saw how I would make authentic lessons for the kids. And I always got the books back. Everything was good. But that was the start of my cyber trips with the students and with the older grades too. And there's a lot of, you can get anything from the library. They pretty much have everything, including a popcorn machine, one of the librarians told me, for a walk. But that was the beginning. And then from there, just as a motivation, if we were learning about a different state or a different country, we would go on a website like YouTube and make a little cyber trip or a little reward at the end. Also by having, I would collaborate with the teachers to see what they were doing in the classroom to try to find a virtual trip, or I would use my student interest survey to see what the kids liked so I could, get them involved.
Thank you, Barbara. And I think right now on the screen, I have achievement gap equals experience gap, because we know that many of our students, if they're not out there actually experiencing what other students may be able to experience, that also contributes to our students' learning gaps and achievement gaps. So you started saying that you plan your virtual field trips with your co-teachers.
Yes, that's the key. The key is to always find out what they're doing in the curriculum, scaffold, make it, make the topic inviting for the kids, to get involved and let them, use all their senses, all the sensories. And when you have a virtual trip that's actually engaging with the kids, or ask if the student has to ask a question and they answer it, that's even more of an empowering situation. So it's been a win-win all the way.
So you, when you're planning a virtual field trip, you're working with your co-teacher and you're planning together and you're looking at the standards to help you?
Exactly. In fact, some of the museums even show you the standards that they're doing so that it makes our job easier and better. And we're using primary sources, secondary sources, and the kids are learning now to see what, what is out there, and they're learning, the tools. Also, we're also like the concierge now of the neighborhood and the in our own town. our community, the country, and the world. So the sky's the limit with this.
So you plan with your co-teacher, you say, this is what we're teaching, this is the topic, and these are the standards that we're addressing. And then you embed the virtual trip into your instruction. So what types of things happen before, during, and after virtual field trip?
To be honest with you, we really started doing, I would have these trips with the students when I was working with them individually, but then now I created these learning opportunities since we've had the pandemic, because now it's more, now we have that flexibility and freedom now, because before we were always worried about the curriculum, the standards, the regents. And at the time, I figured now that we have this remote learning, now's the time to find materials that will, help us address these, the objectives. So, and that's been positive.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think here we have that before the virtual field trip. I know, Barbara, you shared that many of the websites, which we'll take a look at in a few minutes, have teacher guides and videos, and ask you to have a discussion with your students before the trip, so that students come up with their own questions.
Right.
And then during the trip, they're using the chat and the Q&A to ask questions. They're talking directly with the tour guide or the presenter or the curator of the museum. They're having discussion, they're responding to questions that the presenter may have, and also sometimes completing interactive worksheets, right, that that they may have sent you beforehand. And then I think towards the end, we have an example of after the virtual field trip, different exit tickets that you can have, and the writing reflections and the discussions that students have as well. So tell us a little bit about some of these organizations that you have here, titled Think Local.
Okay, so when I was working on this over the weekend, like I said, there's so many materials, and I thought we have to simplify this. Start with locally, like what's in your neighborhood. Like even one of the art teachers was having the kids go on a nature walk and take a picture. So I had my student do that. But now that photograph can be used now for a writing assignment, for a journal prompt. And then was, I just learned about 3 apps. One app is, it's called Plant Snap. You take a picture, it tells the student what the plant is, where it came from, how to make it grow better. And many of my students are landscapers on the side, so they found this to be beneficial. Another app that's positive was Cornell Cooperative has an app that's for bird watching. If you take a picture of the bird, they will actually tell you what the bird is. And there's another app that will tell you if you tape the song that the bird sing, it tells you what the bird is. So that was the other. And then can we just go back to that other slide we were on? I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? I clicked it because you had the Cornell Cooperative mention.
Right. And then the next part was, like I had mentioned before, the library trips are fabulous. Initially I was getting materials from the library, but also our librarians are still doing positive programs at, remote style. And I was going to say to the teachers, if you can, make a connection with your home librarian and also your student's home district librarian. There's so many materials. And ironically, getting onto the Cornell Cooperative, they're doing a lot of programs, and it's the librarians that are working with the Cornell Cooperative Extension. So again, once you start to make a connection with your local community resources, and you have our kids, our students, make connections with these community resources, this is a skill that is not just for the pandemic era, it's for the rest of their life. And that's what I think is a positive tool. So like 10, 20 years from now, I hope they're still using the tools that we taught them to keep, learning for information.
Thank you, Barbara. So let's take a look at the Cornell Cooperative Extension. I know they do have a preschool and a farm out in Yaphank in Suffolk County. Here is their website where you can kind of see all of the different events that they have, and these events are all virtual. And as Barbara had mentioned, so example, this event they have on Friday titled Going Buggy. This might be for early elementary learners. You had said it's really important to make that relationship at the local level with your local libraries. And for this event in particular, you would contact the Bayport Blue Point Library using this contact email address right here, and you would register, say that you're interested, and then they send you the information to log on. So, and you can see some of the other ones that are also available online, and they have different ways that you can register, either by reaching out directly, like Barbara had said, to your local library or to the library that is listed here. And some just give the meeting ID, which makes that a little easier because there's no registration necessarily, but you can just kind of open Zoom and log in there as well. So that's the Cornell Cooperative Extension, which Barbara, you have experience with, right?
I want to share, if it's okay, I wanted to let you know, they're also part of the 4-H program. I was a leader for 4-H for many years. And when I came into BOCES, with the projects and science that we were doing in school, I reached out to this facility, this organization, which is wonderful. And one of our projects was to do a community garden. So I wrote a little letter. They contacted me. And you guys, I'm telling you this because they'll do it for you as well. They gave us a garden master who helped us plan a garden. And then from there, we wanted to get into hydroponic gardening. So from there, my garden master from the program got us connected with Carl Gabrielson, who's a farmer out in the North Fork, and then he helped us with the project. So the sky's the limit. Right now is the time to network, find these great resources, and make connections. And again, we're teaching the kids to make connections so that when they're out of school, they're still, you know, they're making good communication skills to get jobs and feel good about themselves, be part of the community.
That's a great point. Thank you for sharing that, Barbara. We also wanted to point out here just another example of a presentation, a trip that they have, Gardening by the Sea. It's online, it's on Monday, and you'll see that it's from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. While that's kind of outside of our typical, instructional hours, this is something to invite all of the entire family to join in. So if you have an hour, it could even be your own family at home joining in. And I think, Barbara, which you'll mention in a slide down the road, you start to see the participant names in each of these trips. And you start to notice some names because some of the same people are kind of finding all of these great resources online. So you'll see a lot of different people. Some are not just exclusive to your class. Some are may have an availability of 300 participants or whatever it might be. But so the entire family can kind of get involved. So that's the Cornell Cooperative Extension. I think another. Oh, I'm sorry. The next one that we wanted to talk about was thinking more on the national level. Right?
Wait, one more, if you don't mind, just go back one more. Sorry. Some of you may be familiar with the Long Island Science Center. They're a fabulous group also. They actually go to schools, they do projects, and right now they're doing free projects for elementary school kids and middle school students. I did contact Judy, who's one of the coordinators, and she said she would do it for high school kids as well. And right now it's free. And they're also having a free virtual camp. And they're signing up for that. I did forward Denise the information to share with you. So we could get your emails later on. If you're interested, we could send it to you.
Yeah, thank you. And so this here, once we have the presentation available, this is the Long Island Science Center that Barbara's talking about. This is their calendar, and you can see for June, it looks like they may be ending this week. But as you mentioned, they do have some summer dates and camps planned. But I can see here that, for example, on the 11th, they have a free online STEM class, electricity and magnetism, and they have an elementary and a middle school session. But as Barbara mentioned, if you contact the organizers, they may also be able to tailor the instruction towards a different age level. Again, these offerings are all free. And most of the resources that Barbara is sharing today are free. You'll notice that some do have a fee. But maybe that's something you want to write a grant for in the future. Maybe it's something you want to tie into Title III. where, you know, your students will be taking virtual trips throughout the school year, and you as the teacher or the instructor of that program, it's something to kind of think about to be more creative, since we're not sure what the next school year will hold and what restrictions we might have. So this is the Long Island Science Center, right? And that's, again, more on the local level. Do you want me to move on to the national?
We have two more if it's okay. You probably know the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City. They have wonderful virtual tours that are two kinds. One is the students can explore on their own, and then they also do live tours for you as well, and that's free. And then the Museum of Natural History in New York City, they're having really nice programs as well. Again, you explore on your own with the student, or you can have a real tour. And also in Google, I think it's called the Google Museum and Culture website as well, just so that you know, another tidbit.
Yeah, Google Arts and Culture. I think I just went to a PD on that the other day. Arts and Culture. It was very nice. And also Google Earth too. So just to throw that out there. Thank you. Sorry. I mean,
no, I'm glad. Thank you.
Thank you. I think, is it Pamela?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Hi, thank you. If you wouldn't mind, can you put that website in the chat, because I don't have that one here, the one that you and Barbara are talking about, but that might be another great resource for our participants. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. I'll do that.
Thank you.
We have a lot of free resources that we don't even know about, and that's what's sad. We have to really network. This program is wonderful. The Tune In Tuesdays and Follow Up Fridays have been such a godsend to me. And I think that's what, you know, we help each other, and that's what this is all about.
Thank you. Let's take a look. Oh, let me see. Can I go back? Sorry. Okay. So nationally, one of the examples at the national level is the Cleveland Museum of Natural History. So I'll go to that that website. Do you have experience? Have you conducted a virtual trip through this organization yet, Barbara?
I actually just loved the curriculum they had, and based on timing, I wasn't able to use them, but there were some events they had that were free. And I love, like I said, I think we were discussing this, they have, like, you could download a teacher's guide. And
so this is their website right here. You will see that there is a cost for this program. These virtual trips, as Barbara mentioned, they do, if you sign up for their mailing list, they do have some that are free, and that of course were free during the last few months.
Yes.
But again, maybe it's something that you can write into a grant or a Title III, but we do like this one because it comes with a teacher guide. I'll just open this one, for example, really quickly, which is pretty thorough. It talks about the vocabulary and what you would do before and after, before, during, and after the virtual trip as well. If this one kind of,
and they'll even give you a video that goes with it, maybe from YouTube, but they get right to the point, and it's wonderful. And the Museum of Natural History did that too in New York City as well.
Great, thank you. Yeah, if I can get that one's taking a little longer to load. If it comes up, we'll go back to that one. So that's another resource. Also, the national parks.
There's a lot.
Kind of, yeah, there's a lot here. Again, a lot of these, the ones that I kind of have experience with, they have virtual trips that are live and some that are recorded, and a more video, but you go through it with a tour guide. Is there one here in particular that you have attended recently, Barbara?
Well, I wanted to just share, for the first link, they have an ABC book that takes you across all the national parks. So that's great for literacy. And it's also like meditative to see the beautiful photographs of nature. So they have, like, for each letter of the alphabet, and then they get a little tidbit, they see what national park it was from. So this is something that you can use in your everyday classroom if you like, you know.
And that would be a great part to, if you have a virtual trip plan with one of the national parks, you know, maybe to kind of go through some of the animals that you might see in that that particular park, and use that blog to help reiterate that.
And also, if you go on, like we said before, there's a website, and whatever your curriculum is, you type it in, and it will show you what videos they have and what's going on. So it's a win-win situation in that sense.
This one I really like, Barbara was sharing with me, Learn Around the World with Brandon Hall. And this is a live presenter. Right, Barbara? He's a live presenter?
He is excellent. I'm going to tell you, there are some brochures that he charges $200 a session. I only go to what's free. So I wanted to share, this is my, my travel tip for you guys, since we're like traveling. Sign up for everything. And when you see the free items, and if it applies to your curriculum, that's what you use it. So you want to sign up for everything. And usually it's every Sunday morning or every, I would say it's Sunday morning. It's usually Sunday morning or even Monday morning. These companies that normally charge $300 or $200 a session are doing it for free, because they want to get a good review and they want you to network about them. So,
yeah, and I even signed up because we're talking about, not only how these virtual trips can complement our curriculum, but also how, we can engage the family. So for my own young children, I signed up for this event on Friday. It's from 12 to 12:30, and it's the Tiger Cave Temple. And it's a virtual field trip that I can even do with my young children. And what I did here is I used the calendar, which we did link for you in, I put the link here in the presentation. All I did to register was I just clicked register for webinar, and then I filled out the form, and I got an email immediately. You can see it kind of still saves my information. I got an email immediately with the Zoom login information. So we look forward to doing that, as a family. And, maybe it's something that you want to try out just with your family before you, see how you might use it with your curriculum, or maybe, for the end of the school year, it's just kind of something fun that you want to, invite your students and their families to participate in.
His workshops tie into every age level, and he has a nice little system. He starts off, he says, like, as a shout out, write your name. He says the kids' names. It's like Romper Room. The kids love it. He does the high five to them. And then he uses Kahoot. So now the kids, they put in their little Kahoot code. They answer, he gives them, he talks about the information, and then he asks a question. And then whoever wins, he then talks about, okay, we're going to be good digital citizens. So he says, your teacher will contact me and I will send the postcard. And he has done that, which is wonderful. He also talks about being a good, global citizen too. And I love that.
This year, I was just clicked on his website for the Kahoot winner, because Barbara, one of your students was a Kahoot winner, right? That's what you were just saying. And
yes.
Yeah. So that's really fun because it makes it more interactive too, where, the students really feel like, they're having that experience of not physically being there, but this experience, it's something they're not going to forget, especially having that experience of being a winner, winning some sort of prize with the activity. So that's really neat. And I really like here how he's a live presenter. So Brandon Hall, when we're thinking about nationally, even though he also does some things around the world, that's a great resource to go to for your virtual field trips.
He's a live presenter, but what's so nice is that afterwards he'll put that on YouTube. And then what I may do is go back and make questions on a Google Doc and then save that for a future lesson or like a review, or sometimes teachers do Genius Hour. They could pick what they want to do as a choice board. So it works out. It's it's interactive. They're learning a lot of things between science, reading, writing. So it's a nice, quick 45 minutes to an hour for the kids.
Yeah, and engaging and motivating 45 minutes. So that's what we're looking for. So when we're thinking globally, we have a few different resources here. The one that I really love is is it Banyan? We were trying to figure out how to pronounce it. Is it Banyan Global Learning, the one that's in the center?
Yes. Again, I just learned about this since the pandemic, and I really love it. They're all about STEM. They have free programs. In fact, they're having a free program now for, I think for virtual camp. So I took the kids, we went to Taiwan, to Tepe. I think I'm saying it correctly. And
yeah, let me, wait, I want to show them all the pictures that you took. This, maybe before we move on, I'll just show them, show our participants, this is the website here where you can look at all the different offerings, and register to go on those field trips. This is the one that you're talking about that you went on, right? The Taiwan
yes.
night market.
Now I'm going to give you guys the clue. Again, you sign up for this because you're going to be getting, you may see prices like $300, but then there's going to be free ones. You go on the days that they're free. So that's the travel tip. And this is when we went to the virtual market. When we went on this trip, this is what happened. It was 10 o'clock in the morning, and the one woman who was there, she greeted all of us. She was from Florida. She was excited that we were from New York. And then they had teacher Alex in Taiwan. So one of the questions was, what time is it in Taiwan? And she said, well, it's 10 o'clock here in New York in the morning. It's 10 p.m. there. So we went there. He showed us the map. They showed us the map. And then we got some tidbits about the information. I took these pictures while we were doing this. And then that was one of the tallest buildings they were talking about, and that's the forest. And at that time, culturally, this is something that we learned that was interesting. Culturally, the people have small kitchens. They don't cook in their kitchens, and they rely on those little vendors. So they get their food there. And they were showing us, oh, wait, go slow. Here, they were showing how the kids get a nap every day at the schools. And there actually is a 7-Eleven there. And some of the kids get a 2-hour nap a day, which was.
Wow. So this was the trip that you took, Barbara, with your students. And so initially, it's just a little background information about the place that you're going to visit. And here, like you said, an image here that some students have a nap time, even in high school during the day, which is a fun fact. Maybe that's one of the revisions that we can make to the way that we run education right now here. And some of the language, a little bit of the language that they speak in Taiwan. And then your teacher, so his name was Alex, actually was live in the market, right? So now he kind of put you on a live trip. So these are snapshots of your screen at the time during the trip, but the presenters actually
felt like you were there, which was great. You felt like you were there. And the crazy part was, okay, so now culturally, you pick what you like, you put it in a plastic bucket, and they cook the food for you. That's what he was doing. He was asking us to help him pick his dinner. And then they would cook it. And while they were cooking, he was walking around the town. And what was so funny was that it was so hot there, they said, that he would have to get to a refrigerator to get his phone to cool down. That's their money. And the kids like this. It's good to see other cultures. And there he is. That's teacher Alex. He said in their country there right now, you don't have to wear a mask unless you're on a public transportation, but to make the people comfortable, he wore it. That's the money. The bucket she just passed, that's the fashion. Here, when you're at a diner, they may have those machines where you just try to get a stuffed animal. They have that for everything. That's a big thing. He tried it, he lost. Here's sweet potatoes. That's a big thing. People love to get the sweet potatoes instead of getting a hot pretzel. And here, this is actually hot tea to make hard-boiled eggs. That's a cultural recipe they have. And my students and some of the teachers, they got the recipe for it because they were interested. And they were saying you could get cinnamon tea and the flavor is delicious with the eggs. So we may be trying that with the culinary class.
Wow, that's really neat because they're having this experience and they're excited about it, and then they want to try it on their own. It's something that they're not going to forget, especially if they have that opportunity to, have that hands-on experience. And maybe it's something that they end up doing with their family at home and not necessarily with us. It doesn't have to be with us in the classroom. So this is really interesting. And then they brought you into a market, a store, right, as well?
Right.
At the market.
And I always invite the parents to the trips too. So, so that's a positive thing for them and their siblings. And in this culture here, the convenience store also has, it's like a UPS. They have your mail. You can get your mail from there. You can get things kept in a storage box. They have everything there. People get a lot of their, personal that's different from home here.
Like a storage unit.
Yep.
Or a doorman. So it's really unique. Yeah, and I really like this, how it was this journey, and it wasn't, some of the field trips, some of the virtual trips are, it's a recorded session with someone who's speaking live, or something like this where it's a live presenter actually in, going through the motions and in the actual environment. So like this, walking through the Taiwanese night market. So that's really neat, and it might also touch home to some of our students who are from Taiwan. So that might, tie more into being more culturally responsive, and the family may be able to, kind of relive being back there or talk about their own experience. So that's really unique as well.
There was a food dish, I think it was called something with blood, and one of the students did say they had that in his country, in Colombia. So it's interesting to learn about the cultures, what's similar, what's different. It definitely was nice. And I want to say that the website that's called Geo Show TV, that Brandon Hall learned around the world. He also does that as well. Makes those cultural trips. So it's really fun. One more here we had when we're talking about thinking globally is the STEM Earth Echo International. So creating learning opportunities for our ELLs. And like you said, some of those STEM experts actually have very similar backgrounds to the diverse backgrounds that our students have. So, once again, making that connection and maybe choosing a trip or an experience, a virtual event that is going to have a greater impact and greater motivation for some of our students who have those similar backgrounds, and even be quite motivating to see that someone also had this great experience of being in a new country, a new state, learning English, and how powerful being bilingual has allowed them to become. So that's another one, the Earth Echo International. They have a lot of great virtual field trips, and also they connect it to different careers, different STEM careers, which is really neat as well. So maybe with your high school students having that discussion about, these are some of the different careers that you could explore if you're interested, which is really fun as well. They have they have live tours, and then some of them are recorded tours, but they're all excellent. And like Denise said, the kids can ask questions and they make connections, and they really want the kids to not be afraid of math and science. They really want the girls involved, and they want to help kids with all diverse backgrounds. So they'll give them a pre-test, like a survey, and then they'll give them a post-test, and to see what their feelings are about science. So we hope that at the end they love science.
And this is a neat one too, kind of more cumulative of our discussion, but where the heck is Matt, right? And this is a presenter, a person who kind of takes actual physical trips to different places and learns about the cultures, but then with the power of of the virtual world and YouTube, makes us feel like we're in some of those places. So I think the first one was about dance. Do you want me to play that one for a few seconds? Yes. Well, here's the story about Matt. This fellow, he loves to go travel around the world. He got credit card companies to pay for him to dance around the world. And then after he did this, he was like, you know what? I did this wrong. I really should do it with people. So we got this, and now he's fabulous. You'll love it. I promise. Oops. And you know what? Maybe you guys could write where you've been, if you've been to any of these places, or if you've read about any of these places.
I'll be left at the end of things in a world kept small. Travel far from what I know, and I'll be swept away. I need to know I can be lost. I'm not afraid. We're gonna trip the light. We're gonna break the night, and we'll see with new eyes when we trip the light. Remember we're lost together. Remember we're the same. We hold the burning rhythm in our hearts. We hold the flame. We're gonna trip the light. We're gonna break the night, and we'll see with new eyes when we trip the light. We're gonna trip the light. We're gonna break the night, and we'll see with new eyes when we trip the light.
So I'll stop it there, Barbara. But
Great.
the music is really fun, and kind of reminds us that, especially now after everything that we've experienced. I mean, we have colleagues who are pre-service teachers now who won't ever experience something like we've experienced, and we have students who will become students who won't remember this experience, or my own children who are much younger won't ever hopefully have to have an experience like this, where they were in school one day and out in the virtual world the next. But having fun, right? And bringing it back to our families and making sure our families are, taken care of and our students are taken care of. That's really the main message that we always want to send, and let our families know that we're here for them. And this is, a fun way to, again, keep, consistent with our curriculum, but also making it more engaging and more fun. So, a lot of great ways. And some of you were asking in the chat, when do you schedule or I guess this could be a question for you, Barbara. When do you schedule your virtual trips? Is it only during the time that you are meeting with your students during synchronous learning, or how do you schedule them?
What I've been doing is I try to schedule it when I see the students, but then at the same time, I put it out there so that as an enrichment, because that's a part of it. They need enrichment, the kids. And this way they can join us with their families if it's at a different time of the schedule. So it works out nice. And sometimes when these free activities occur, they may be after school hours. So I'll offer it then as well as an additive.
Yeah, and it's something like I was sharing, Barbara sends me the different, virtual trips that she has scheduled, and sometimes I'm able to join with my family as well. So even yesterday, we were by the pool, but we were taking a trip with to a museum, and we were looking at the different the paintings that the curator was talking about, and you can kind of zoom in and out and have that interactive discussion. So for families, it's like we're taking, they can make the field trips work during their time as well. And it doesn't feel too much like work when you can, kind of just be relaxing on your couch or sitting outside with your own family and going on this field trip, even if it is 7 o'clock at night, just taking those few minutes. It's kind of stressless, but also on Twitter, I mean, virtual field trips, a lot of teachers are talking about them. And this was just a screenshot of a teacher who showed that there was a reading, writing, and math activity that she was able to incorporate into the field trip. And so they went to Disneyland, but they also went to the Australian Zoo, and they talked about their favorite animals and they wrote about it. This could also be something that you're doing with older students who are just developing their literacy skills. Another teacher used exit tickets through a Google form, so kind of get some feedback from her students, and those could be in the form of recall questions, discussing the vocabulary, the different things that students saw, but also what would you like to learn more about? And I know, Barbara, you said on your exit tickets, you ask your students, where would you like to visit next, right?
It's always New York City. So we're going to have little trips there. Maybe we'll see a Broadway show one day. It's
Yeah, it would be, yeah, and it would be amazing also, what we're saying is that, we want our students to have these experiences. Some of these experiences, I mean, I don't know that we'll be able to take our students to the Taiwanese market, but at least they've had that experience. Maybe sometime in their own, their own life, their own opportunity might allow them to go to that place, or to at least have the knowledge about it and to learn more about it. We're never sure where we want to expose our students to so much because we're not sure where that might take them. We have
And
a lot.
they like to see us learn, they love to see that we love to learn and to share that love for learning. And that if we can get that with the kids, especially during this time, then it's a win-win situation. We're doing good with this remote learning then.
Yeah, definitely. And there's so many, there's so much available to us, because we don't have to go anywhere. It's right at our fingertips. So Barbara, thank you for all of the resources you've shown us. Here's even a few more, that you might be interested in. The Georgia Aquarium has webcams, so students can watch the sharks swimming around. You might even have discussions about that together. And students are always excited when the big shark comes close to the camera. So that's fun. And they might even talk about, questions they may have for the aquarium, the people who are running the aquarium, as well, and maybe you can reach out to them. So we do invite you on this Friday. We do. I did sign up for the Tiger Cave Temple. That's through GeoShow, which I was showing you the calendar before. So this is the registration information. You can register on your own as well, but they did send me the URL, and they do use Kahoot. So if you wanted to join using Kahoot, or participate using Kahoot, or have your students participate,
Yes.
Make sure that you set up the Kahoot accounts beforehand, right, Barbara? That's something that you did?
Yes. And did we talk about explore.com? Explore.org? That's the website.
I think we do have that one. Yeah, I think we do have that one in here. I'm
Is that next or?
So many great resources. I'm not sure if that's the one that we have right now.
I love, I always tell the kids, like, if you're going on, when you wake up in the morning, look it up, because they go to Africa and you'll see the animals in the morning, or even before you go to bed, you'll see the animals, they come out, because it's live and it's amazing. And then also they could do a safari trip there, and then they could even click a different button and then just see the bald eagles from a different region of the United States. And again, they have the aquariums, and it's just wonderful. I mean, you could do anything.
And as we mentioned earlier too, a lot of our students who were just starting to develop their oral language, in English, that experience may have stopped because when they went home, they may not have someone to practice that English with besides us, if with their teacher during synchronous learning, if that's in their schedule. So having this experience, now students can kind of talk about what they're seeing, talk about the vocabulary. You can give them some sentence stems and starters, and be able to kind of have those conversations or some guided questions. So it's really incredible, not only for our students, our English language learners, but to bring our families together and to do something fun that doesn't seem so stressful, right? There's not a project, there's not a test. This is something that they're experiencing together and that they won't forget. And like we said, we're not sure where it will take them. Students may be so interested in something that they experience with you that it furthers their learning and their questioning. So that's really incredible. So thank you, Barbara. I know there's so much, there's so many resources. I know Barbara has signed up for, probably every, I don't know if there's even any left that you haven't.
There'll be more next week. That's
yeah.
But if anyone has any questions, they can always email me, and I'm happy to share.
Yeah, let's take a look at the chat. Let me just, where's my chat here? Just to see if we have any questions. I know some were asking about fees, and like we showed you, most of the virtual trips that Barbara signs up for are available free. Some do have fees, but there's so much available that doesn't cost any money, which is great. Our recording will be available once we kind of trim it and edit it for you. It'll be available on our YouTube channel. The easiest way, I know some of you are looking for the presentation. We will edit it and then put it on our our website. But if you need the presentation right away, the best way to do that would be, I would say, to email me, and I'll put my email address in the chat box, so that you can email me and I can send it to you as soon as I get your email, because there's a lot of great resources that we have put into the presentation, and it would be just so we would just be flooding the chat.
Yeah.
We put everything in there. So I would say, Barbara, that they can either reach out to me or to you, and we can send the presentation. Barbara, what is your email address again? It's
It's, I just put it on the text. It's V as in Victor, ERMAEL @esboces.org. And I wanted to also let everyone know that Nearpod and Edpuzzle also have, if you just type in virtual trips, you'll see a nice variety. Of course, it's pre-recorded, but they have engaging activities for the kids to write about or complete.
Yeah, and I would say, because it can be overwhelming, especially if you're just starting with virtual trips. But I would start by just looking to see what's out there, and then see how could I connect this really exciting experience with what we're doing in our curriculum. I wouldn't go narrowly looking for, something just on a specific topic. I would see what's available, and then how can I tie this in? Maybe you're tying it into a literacy standard. It's a discussion, listening and speaking practice, or writing about using research to write, or argument writing, whatever it might be. I would say that looking to see what that your students will be really motivated by. What seems really interesting and fun for your students and your family, and then see how you can connect that, because I'm sure you can find some way to connect it to the curriculum that you're working with right now. So if you put your email address in the chat for the presentation, I will send it to you through there. If not, the next best way is to email me directly. That's D. McAuliffe. I put it in the chat for you, and I can get that presentation right over to you. So thank you, Barbara, so much. It was great seeing you. And your passion for traveling, we were quarantined, but at least you still got to travel, right?
That's how I feel, exactly. And it's always about planning. Always keep planning for your lessons for the next semester.
Yeah, that's so fun. Thank you. Don't forget, if you haven't had a chance already, make sure your first and last name is in our chat box, so we can use that to confirm your attendance. And then also the second part of confirming your attendance would be to complete the evaluation form. To do that, you would go to your My Learning Plan account, and when you find today's topic or title, you'll click the Manage button, which will bring you to the second page. Scroll down a little bit to the actions, and one of the actions you can take is to complete the session workshop evaluation. Once you do that, we will be able to confirm your attendance. Just so you know, we do not see your evaluation form. We just see that you completed one. So please give us your honest feedback and what you would like to look for in the future. I know actually today is our last Tune In Tuesday for this season, but it has been so well received, and we love working and talking to all of you and seeing all of you virtually each week. So it is something that we are going to tweak and modify and move forward with. I don't know, because we're running a little over time, if our director is still with us. Krista, are you still with us? I know we have so many virtual meetings, so she may not be with us, but I know oh, hi, Krista. Did you want to take a second just to talk to our participants?
Thank you all for this fantastic showing this year, for Tune In Tuesday and supporting us. If there's anything that we can do, any ideas that you have, topics, we would love to hear from them. So shoot us an email or drop it in the chat. And thank you again. And have a great summer, because we all need a good summer, right?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. We sure do.
That's great, right. If you do want to, we do invite you though to join us to continue the discussion on family and family engagement on Friday. So we have confiances Sarah Otto and Sarah Sid. They will be talking about the 3 R's of engaging ELLs and their families. So we invite you to sign up and join us again on Friday. Does anyone have any questions? I think we got to most of our questions in the chat. But if not, please don't hesitate to reach out to you. We love talking with all of you. And again, we look forward to working with you all and seeing you all in the future. So enjoy. We've almost made it through. Enjoy your summer, and we'll talk to you all soon.